Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that most people don't want to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Being attractive is not about your face, your money, or how loud you talk. And mental strength is not about pretending you don't feel pain. Real attractiveness and real strength start on the inside. They show up in your habits, in what you do every single day when nobody is watching. See, the world is full of talented people who never make it because they don't have discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. When you can wake up on time, handle your responsibilities, and stay consistent, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, other people feel it. Confidence grows naturally when you keep promises to yourself. And confidence is attractive without you saying a single word. Now let me talk to you about emotional control. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets frustrated. But not everybody lets their emotions run the show. When you learn how to pause, how to breathe, how to respond instead of react, you separate yourself from the crowd. People who can stay calm in chaos are rare. They don't need to argue loudly, prove themselves, or explain their worth. Their presence alone commands respect. That calm strength draws people toward you because it feels safe, it feels mature, and it feels powerful. Another habit that will change your life is keeping your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you'll be somewhere, show up. Your word is your bond. When people know they can count on you, you become valuable. And let me tell you something, value is attractive. Mentally strong people don't make excuses every time things get hard. They adjust, they adapt, and they finish what they start. That kind of reliability builds a reputation money can't buy. You also have to commit to growing every day. Read something, learn something, improve something about yourself. The strongest minds are always hungry to get better. When you stop learning, you start shrinking. Growth keeps your mind sharp and your spirit alive. People are naturally drawn in someone who is evolving, someone who isn't stuck complaining about yesterday, but preparing for tomorrow. Now listen to me closely. Mentally strong people have boundaries. They don't let everyone drain them, disrespect them, or waste their time. Boundaries are not rude. Boundaries are necessary. When you respect your own limits, others are forced to respect you too. Saying no when needed protects your peace, and peace is priceless. When you're at peace with who you are, you don't chase approval, and that makes you incredibly attractive. And finally, gratitude and faith. Life will knock you down. That's guaranteed. But gratitude keeps your heart right, and faith keeps your mind steady. When you can thank God even during hard seasons, you develop a strength that can't be shaken. You stop breaking under pressure and start bending without snapping. People feel that strength, they feel that hope, and they want to be around it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things on this planet to master, and that is self-discipline. See, everybody wants confidence. Everybody wants to feel strong. Everybody wants to walk into a room and feel like they belong there. But what most people don't understand is this: confidence is not something you're born with, it's something you build. And the bricks you use to build it are called discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's getting up when your bed feels too comfortable. It's saying no to distractions when your goals need a yes. It's choosing the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. And every single time you do that, something happens inside you. You don't see it right away, but your spirit takes notes. Your mind remembers. You start to realize, I can trust myself. And once you trust yourself, confidence starts showing up without you forcing it. A lot of people walk around loud, flashy, trying to prove something. That's not confidence. That's insecurity wearing a costume. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need approval. It comes from knowing that when things get hard, you won't quit on yourself. That's what discipline gives you. When you show up for yourself day after day, even when nobody is clapping, you develop an inner power that can't be shaken by opinions or criticism. Let me tell you something real. Life does not get easier. Responsibilities increase. Pressure increases. Expectations increase. The only thing that makes you stronger is your ability to handle yourself. Mentally strong people don't wait for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Discipline is what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. And the more you practice it, the more confident you become in your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. Self-discipline also teaches you respect, not just for others, but for yourself. When you keep breaking promises to yourself, you slowly lose self-respect. You start doubting your own word. But when you say, I'm going to do this, and you actually do it, you begin to stand taller. You look people in the eye differently. Your walk changes. Your energy changes. People feel that before you ever open your mouth. And let me clear this up for you. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-love. It's saying, I care enough about my future to sacrifice my comfort today. That's power. That's maturity. That's strength. Weakness is doing what feels good right now and paying for it later. Strength is doing what's hard right now so your future can breathe easier. You don't need to hold your whole life overnight. Discipline grows in small choices. Make your bed. Be on time. Finish what you start. Control what you can control. These little wins stack up, and before you know it, you've built momentum. And momentum builds belief. Belief builds confidence. Confidence builds presence. That's why disciplined people don't beg for respect. They attract it. Ladies and gentlemen, the world will test you. It will tempt you to quit, to settle, to lower your standards. But when you develop self-discipline, you develop an inner power that doesn't rely on circumstances. You stop needing validation because you've already proven something to the most important person in your life, yourself. And when you reach that point, you don't just look strong. You are strong from the inside out. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about emotional control, because this right here is one of the clearest signs of real strength and real attractiveness. Everybody has emotions. You're supposed to feel things. But the difference between someone who is mentally strong and someone who is constantly struggling is who's in charge. Are you in control of your emotions, or are your emotions in control of you? See, when you react to everything, you give your power away. Every insult, every delay, every disappointment starts pushing your buttons, and before you know it, you're tired, angry, and frustrated all the time. Mentally strong people understand something very important. Not everything deserves a response. Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes walking away is winning. When you can stay calm while others are losing control, you instantly rise above the situation. Let me tell you something, people are always watching how you handle pressure. They may not say it, but they're taking notes. When you stay composed during conflict, when you don't let anger control your mouth or your actions, people feel safe around you. And safety is attractive. Calm energy is attractive. A person who can regulate their emotions doesn't need to dominate conversations or raise their voice to be heard. Their presence alone carries weight. Now don't confuse emotional control with emotional suppression. Mentally strong people still feel pain, disappointment, and frustration. They just don't let those feelings dictate their behavior. They process their emotions privately, wisely, and with maturity. They don't explode in public and then regret it later. They pause, they think. And that pause can save relationships, opportunities, and reputations. Life will test you. Someone will disrespect you. Something won't go your way. Plans will fall apart. If every setback sends you into emotional chaos, life becomes exhausting. But when you learn to manage your reactions, you conserve energy, you stay focused, you make better decisions, Emotional control gives you clarity, and clarity gives you power. Let me be real with you. Anger feels strong in the moment, but it's actually a sign of lost control. Anyone can get angry. Anyone can lash out. It takes strength to remain steady. It takes confidence to say, I don't need to prove anything right now. When you stop reacting emotionally, you stop being predictable. And when people can't predict your reactions, they can't manipulate you. Emotionally controlled people also know how to listen. They don't interrupt. They don't get defensive over every comment. They absorb information, process it, and respond with intention. That makes them appear wise. And wisdom is attractive. People naturally respect those who can handle tough conversations without falling apart. Here's another truth. When you control your emotions, you control your environment. Your mood stops dictating the mood of your entire day. One bad moment doesn't ruin everything. One negative comment doesn't destroy your confidence. You stay centered. And when you stay centered, you move differently. You talk differently. You carry yourself differently. Ladies and gentlemen, the strongest people in the room are not the loudest ones. They are the calmest ones. Emotional control is not about being cold or distant. It's about being grounded. When you master your emotions, you stop being a prisoner to circumstances and start becoming the author of your own responses. And that kind of inner strength. People can feel it the moment you walk into the room. Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to you about the power of keeping your word, because this habit right here separates the respected from the ignored, the trusted from the doubted. In a world full of talkers, the person who does they say they're going to do stands out without trying. Your word is not just sound coming out of your mouth. It is your signature. It tells people who you are long before they get to know you. A lot of people don't understand how damaging it is to constantly break promises, especially the small ones. Showing up late, not following through, saying, I'll do it tomorrow, and never doing it. Every time you do that, something breaks, and it's not just other people's trust, it's your own. You start questioning yourself. You start lowering your standards, and over time, you train yourself to believe that your words don't matter. Mentally strong people refuse to live like that. When you keep your word, you create reliability, and reliability creates respect. People know they can count on you. They don't have to remind you, and that kind of dependability is rare. Employers value it. Friends trust it. Partners feel secure around it. You become someone people want in their circle because you bring certainty in an uncertain world. Let me tell you something real. Keeping your word is not about being perfect. It's about being honest. If you say yes when you really mean no, you're setting yourself up to fail. Mentally strong people choose their commitments carefully. They don't overpromise to impress people. They understate and overdeliver. They understand that protecting their word is more important than protecting their ego. There will be times when keeping your word costs you something. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you time. It may cost you convenience. But every time you honor your commitment, you deposit into your character, and character compounds. You don't see the results overnight, but one day you look around and realize people respect you without you demanding it. That respect didn't come from talking, it came from consistency. Attractive people don't beg to be taken seriously. They already are. Why? Because their actions line up with their words. When your behavior matches your promises, people feel safe trusting you. And trust is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are solid, those who don't change based on mood or circumstance. Keeping your word also builds inner strength. When you know you will follow through no matter what, fear starts losing its grip on you. You stop doubting yourself. You stop second guessing. You walk with a quiet confidence because you've proven something to yourself over and over again. That confidence is not loud, but it's powerful. Here's something else. When you are known as a person of your word, opportunities find you. People recommend you. Doors open for you when you're not even in the room. Not because you're the smartest or the most talented, but because you're dependable. Talent can get attention, but character keeps it. Ladies and gentlemen, the strongest promise you will ever keep is the one you make to yourself. When you say you're going to grow, change, or improve, and you actually do it, you transform your self-image. You start seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. And once that happens, your presence changes. People don't just hear your words anymore. They believe them. Expedi 4K and out ON 600 WOAS get your INTR and KOO. And ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about the habit of continuous self-improvement, because this is where mental strength sharpens and true attractiveness matures. Too many people reach a certain point in life and decide they're done growing. They stop learning, stop listening, stop challenging themselves. And the moment that happens, they don't stay the same, they start declining. Mentally strong people understand that growth is not optional. If you're not moving forward, you're slowly moving backward. See, self-improvement is not about competing with anyone else. It's about competing with who you were yesterday. It's waking up every day asking yourself, how can I be a little better than I was before? That mindset alone changes everything. It keeps your mind sharp, your confidence grounded, and your purpose clear. People are naturally drawn to someone who is evolving, someone who isn't stuck complaining about the past, but focused on building the future. Let me tell you something real. The strongest minds are humble. They know they don't know everything. That humility opens the door to learning. When you read, when you listen, when you observe, you give your mind new tools. And the more tools you have, the better you handle life. Problems don't scare you as much because you've trained your brain to adapt. That adaptability is a sign of mental strength, and it's extremely attractive. Self-improvement also forces you to face yourself. You start recognizing your weaknesses, your habits, your blind spots. And instead of getting defensive, you get intentional. You stop blaming people. You stop making excuses. You take responsibility, and responsibility is power. When you accept that your growth is your job, you stop waiting for someone to save you and start building yourself. A lot of people want quick results. They want motivation without discipline, success without sacrifice, confidence without work. Mentally strong people understand that improvement is a process. It's small changes done consistently. Reading a few pages a day, learning a new skill, improving how you communicate, taking care of your body. These small decisions stack up, and over time they transform you. Let me say this clearly. Growth will make some people uncomfortable. When you improve, you outgrow certain conversations, certain habits, certain environments. And that's okay. Mentally strong people don't apologize for evolving. They understand the same to keep others comfortable is a slow form of self-betrayal. Growth may feel lonely at times, but it always leads to a stronger, clearer version of you. Self-improvement also builds resilience. When you're constantly learning, failure doesn't destroy you. You see it as feedback. You adjust and move forward. That mindset protects your mental health. You stop taking every setback personally and start seeing life as a classroom. And people respect those who can fall, learn, and rise wiser than before. Ladies and gentlemen, when you commit to improving yourself, your confidence becomes real, not fake confidence, not loud confidence. Real confidence rooted in effort. You don't need to brag because your growth speaks for itself. Your conversations get deeper. Your decisions get smarter. Your presence gets stronger. And without trying, you become someone people admire, not because you're perfect, but because you're committed to becoming better every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about boundaries, because this habit right here will save your mind, your energy, and your future. A lot of people are tired, stressed, and emotionally drained, not because life is too hard, but because they let everybody have access to them. They say yes when they should say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. And slowly, they give away pieces of themselves until there's nothing left. Mentally strong people understand something early in life. Not everyone deserves access to you. Your time is valuable. Your energy is limited. Your peace is priceless. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are lines that protect what matters most. When you don't set boundaries, people will decide your limits for you, and trust me, they will always take more than you can afford to give. Let me clear something up. Setting boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you responsible. Responsible for your mental health. Responsible for your growth. Responsible for your future. Weak people feel guilty for protecting themselves. Strong people understand that if they don't protect themselves, no one else will. You cannot pour into others if you're constantly empty. A lot of folks confuse kindness with tolerance. You can be kind and still say no. You can be respectful and still walk away. You can love people and still refuse to accept behavior that drains or disrespects you. Mentally strong people don't explain their boundaries over and over again. They state them once and let their actions enforce them. Here's the truth. When you start setting boundaries, some people will get uncomfortable. Not because you changed for the worse, but because they benefited from you having none. When you stop over-giving, over-explaining, and overextending, you reveal who truly respects you and who is only using your availability. That's not loss, that's clarity. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. If you accept late replies, broken promises, and constant disrespect, you are silently telling people it's okay. But when you raise your standards, when you stop tolerating nonsense, your value becomes clear. You don't have to announce it. Your boundaries speak for you. Let me tell you something powerful. Saying no is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You worry about disappointing people. You worry about being misunderstood. But over time, you realize something. Protecting your peace feels better than pleasing everyone. And once you experience that peace, you won't trade it for approval again. Mentally strong people also understand boundaries with themselves. They don't overwork to the point of burnout. They don't ignore rest. They don't stay in situations that drain their spirit. They check in with themselves and adjust. That self-awareness is strength. And people are attracted to those who know their limits and respect themselves enough to honor them. When you set boundaries, your confidence grows. You stop resenting people because you stop over-giving. You stop feeling used because you stop allowing it. Your relationships become healthier because they are built on mutual respect, not guilt or obligation. And respect, real respect, is incredibly attractive. Ladies and gentlemen, boundaries will cost you some people, but they will save you from losing yourself. When you protect your energy, your value becomes undeniable. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move with intention. And without trying to impress anyone, you become someone people respect, not because you're available to everyone, but because you are solid within yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about gratitude and faith, because this habit right here is what keeps a person standing when life is doing everything it can to knock them down. You can have discipline, control your emotions, keep your word, improve yourself, and set boundaries, but without gratitude and faith, pressure will eventually wear you out. Mentally strong people are not strong because life is easy for them. They're strong because they've learned how to see blessings, even in difficult seasons. Gratitude changes the way your mind works. When you're grateful, you stop focusing on what you don't have and start appreciating what you do have. And that shift is powerful. It doesn't mean you're satisfied with where you are. It means you're thankful for how far you've come. People who lack gratitude are always angry, always complaining, always comparing, that kind of mindset weakens you. But when you wake up thankful, your problems don't disappear. They just stop controlling you. Let me tell you something real. Life is unfair sometimes. Good people struggle. Hard work doesn't always pay off immediately. And if you don't have faith, those moments will break you. Faith is believing that even when you don't understand what's happening, something greater is still working in your favor. It's trusting the process when the progress is invisible. That belief keeps your mind steady when everything around you feels uncertain. Gratitude also keeps you humble. When you recognize that everything didn't come from luck alone, you move differently. You treat people better. You stop feeling entitled. And humility is attractive. People are drawn to those who appreciate life instead of constantly demanding more from it. Gratitude makes your presence warm. Faith makes your presence strong. Mentally strong people don't deny pain. They feel it, but they don't live in it. They say, this hurts, but it's not the end. That mindset doesn't come from positivity quotes. It comes from faith. Faith allows you to endure seasons you don't like without becoming bitter. It teaches you patience. It teaches you trust. And patience under pressure is one of the greatest signs of strength there is. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Gratitude protects your mental health. When you're faithful, anxiety loses its grip. Fear gets quieter. You stop panicking about tomorrow because you're grounded in today. Gratitude slows your mind down. It reminds you that you've survived before, and you'll survive again. That awareness gives you calm confidence, and calm confidence is deeply attractive. Faith also helps you forgive. When you believe there's a bigger picture, you don't carry resentment as heavily. You let go faster. You heal quicker. You stop letting past hurt define your future. Mentally strong people don't stay stuck in what happened to them. They focus on who they're becoming. Faith gives you the courage to move forward, even when your heart is still healing. Let me say this clearly. Gratitude and faith don't make you weak or passive. They make you resilient. They allow you to keep going without losing yourself. They help you stay kind in a harsh world, hopeful in hard times, and steady under pressure. That kind of inner strength can't be faked, and it can't be bought. Ladies and gentlemen, when you walk with gratitude, you appreciate life. When you walk with faith, you trust life. And when you have both, you stop breaking under pressure and start rising through it. People feel that energy. They see it in how you handle loss, delay, and disappointment. Without trying to impress anyone, you become someone others admire, not because life favored you, but because you never lost your spirit while walking through it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight from the heart. Life will break you, shake you, stretch you, and test you in ways you never saw coming. But the beauty of life is that every single day, you get another shot at rebuilding yourself. Every single morning, God hands you a brand new page, but it's on you to pick up the pen and write something better than yesterday. You can't grow if your eyes are always on somebody else's life. You can't rise if you keep comparing your journey to what the world shows you on a screen. Your focus has to shift back to the mirror, because a person in that reflection is the only competition you truly have. Focusing on yourself every day is the foundation of rebuilding your life, because nothing around you can truly change until something within you changes first. Every morning gives you an opportunity to take one small step toward the person you're trying to become. But that only happens when your attention is centered on your own journey. Most people spend their lives watching what everyone else is doing, worrying about who's ahead, who's winning, who's achieving more, and who seems happier. All that energy wasted on comparison keeps you from building the life you were meant to live. You can't rebuild anything if your eyes are always looking outward instead of inward. Real transformation happens in silence, in reflection, in honest self-awareness in the moments when you decide to prioritize your growth over distractions, opinions, and noise. When you choose to focus on yourself, you begin to recognize your strengths and weaknesses without fear or judgment. You see where you've been limiting yourself, where you've been delaying your progress, and where you've been giving too much energy to things that don't serve your future. You start to understand that your habits shape your reality. Your discipline shapes your results. Your mindset shapes your opportunities. And all of these improve only when you devote consistent attention to your own life. Rebuilding yourself is not something that happens in one big moment. It happens through small daily choices. Choosing discipline over comfort. Choosing growth over excuses. Choosing progress over procrastination. When you make yourself the center of your focus, you begin to take ownership of your time and your energy in a way you never did before. Focusing on yourself also means giving yourself permission to outgrow who you used to be. Too many people stay stuck because they are loyal to an old version of themselves, a version that tolerated disrespect, avoided responsibility, played small, doubted their abilities, or settled for less than they deserved. To rebuild yourself, you must be willing to release that version of you. You must be willing to step into discomfort, because discomfort is where growth begins. Every time you push yourself to think better, act better, work harder, and live with higher intention, you are building a new layer of strength, confidence, and purpose. And when you do this daily, the layers become a foundation. Steady, grounded, and unshakable. Another reason dais on yourself is essential is because life will always pull you in different directions if you let it. People will demand your attention. Circumstances will distract you. Emotions will tempt you to react instead of respond, and old habits will try to pull you back into patterns that don't lead to growth. If you don't make yourself a priority, something else will take that place. Focusing on yourself is a discipline, and like any discipline, it must be practiced every day. Some days you will feel motivated, other days you will feel tired or discouraged. But rebuilding yourself requires showing up even when you don't feel like it. You learn to keep promises to yourself, and that builds a level of trust and self-respect that becomes unbreakable. When you make yourself your daily focus, you start to attract better opportunities, better relationships, and better outcomes. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger, wiser, and clearer. You stop settling. You stop chasing validation. You stop living for approval. Instead, you start living with intention, purpose, and commitment. You begin to shape your future instead of simply reacting to your circumstances. You rebuild your confidence by showing yourself that you are capable of change. You rebuild your peace by protecting your mind from negativity. You rebuild your future by investing in your goals consistently. Over time, these small, daily moments of self-focus create a transformation so powerful that even you will look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. Your only true competition is the person in the mirror, because the greatest battles you will ever fight are internal, not external. Most people spend their lives trying to measure up to others, comparing their progress, their success, their appearance, their money, or their opportunities with what they see around them. But comparison steals joy, kills potential, and distracts you from the one journey that actually matters, your own. When you focus on competing with others, you lose control of your direction. You start chasing standards that were never meant for you, trying to fit into timelines that don't belong to you, and judging your worth based on someone else's highlight reel. But when you compete only with yourself, everything changes. You begin to ask a different question every day. Am I better than I was yesterday? That question alone shifts your mindset, your habits, and your purpose. The person in the mirror is the only one who knows your struggles, your pain, your dreams, and the silent battles you fight. Nobody else wakes up with your worries. Nobody feels your doubts the way you do, and nobody carries your responsibilities. So why measure your life against people who don't share the same path, the same circumstances, or the same challenges? When you understand that your growth is personal and your journey is unique, you take back your power. You start creating a life that reflects your values, not the expectations of society. Competing with yourself means recognizing that the road to success is not about being better than someone else. It's about being a better version of who you were before. It's about leveling up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, one day at a time. When you shift your focus inward, you begin to take responsibility for your behaviors and decisions. You stop blaming others for your lack of progress, and instead, you look at what you can improve within yourself. Maybe you need more discipline. Maybe you need more patience. Maybe you need to let go of certain habits or people. Maybe you need to push yourself harder or believe in yourself more. These realizations only come when you stop looking outward and start paying attention to your own growth. Self-competition teaches you accountability. It forces you to confront your weaknesses not with shame, but with the belief that you have the power to change them. Competing with yourself also builds confidence because every win becomes personal. When you set a goal and you hit it, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you are capable. When you push past a limit you once thought was impossible, you expand your potential. These moments stack up over time. They create a mindset that says, if I could do that yesterday, I can do even more today. You're no longer motivated by external approval. You're driven by internal growth. I'm not talking motivation is unshakable because it doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion or validation. The person in the mirror will also be the one who challenges you the most. That reflection holds you accountable because deep down, you know when you're giving your best and when you're settling for less. You know when you're making excuses, when you're avoiding responsibility, or when you're holding yourself back because of fear. And when you become honest with that person in the mirror, you unlock a level of self-awareness that leads to real transformation. You stop living life on autopilot. You start making intentional choices. You begin setting standards that align with the future you want instead of the comfort you're used to. At the end of the day, the journey of rebuilding your life is not about outshining others, but about outgrowing your past self. When you focus on competing with the person in the mirror, you stop rushing, you stop comparing, and you start evolving. You move at your own pace, you celebrate your own wins, and you build a life grounded in authenticity, purpose, and self-respect. Growth requires removing distractions, toxic people, and old habits because you cannot rise while holding on to the very things that keep pulling you down. Every stage of your life will demand a different version of you, and that version cannot be built if your environment is filled with noise, negativity, and patterns that no longer serve your future. Most people never grow because they refuse to let go. They cling to comfort, cling to familiar chaos, cling to relationships that drain them, and cling to habits that steal their potential. But real growth requires pruning. It requires clearing space. It requires the courage to cut away the things that look harmless on the surface, but quietly limit your progress every single day. Distractions are one of the biggest enemies of personal growth. They come in many forms. Social media, unnecessary drama, procrastination, spending too much time on entertainment, constantly seeking validation, or focusing on things you cannot control. When your mind is cluttered with distractions, there is no room for clarity. You cannot hear your own thoughts or your own purpose when you are busy paying attention to everything except the life you're trying to build. Every time you say yes to a distraction, you are saying no to your progress. Growth happens when you become intentional about where your time goes. You choose activities that feed your future instead of draining your energy. You start valuing silence, focus, and discipline because these are the tools that help you rebuild yourself from the inside out. Toxic people are another major barrier to growth, and many people struggle to remove them because of history, guilt, or emotional attachment. But the truth is simple. You cannot elevate your life while surrounding yourself with people who think small, complain endlessly, disrespect your boundaries, or discourage your dreams. Some people are not toxic because they are bad. They are toxic because they are stuck, and their mindset becomes a cage that traps you too. When you spend too much time with people who don't grow, you stop growing too. Their doubts become your doubts. Their fears become your fears. Their negativity becomes your atmosphere. Growth requires protecting your energy, and that means distancing yourself from anyone who drains your peace or distracts you from your purpose. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to fight with them. You simply rise in a different direction. Old habits also hold you back because they keep you tied to the version of yourself that you're trying to outgrow. You cannot step into a new life with old behaviors. Whether it's laziness, inconsistent effort, overthinking, poor time management, emotional reactions, or staying in your comfort zone, these habits act like chains. They make you believe that change is impossible, even though you're fully capable of transforming your entire life. Breaking old habits requires honesty. You must look at yourself and admit what is no longer acceptable. You must replace those habits with new routines that align with your goals instead of your excuses. It won't be easy because the mind loves familiarity, even when the familiar is destructive. But growth begins when you choose discipline over temporary comfort. Removing distractions, toxic people, and old habits is not about creating a perfect life. It's about creating the right environment for your growth. You need space to think clearly, people who push you higher, and habits that support your vision. When you start letting go of what no longer serves you, you make room for opportunities, clarity, confidence, and purpose. Growth is not accidental, it's intentional. It's a daily process of choosing what strengthens you and releasing what weakens you. And when you commit to that process, your entire life begins to shift in ways you never imagined. Prioritizing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary for survival and success because you cannot pour into others from an empty cup. And you cannot build a meaningful life if you're constantly depleted, overwhelmed, or emotionally drained. Far too many people are taught to believe that putting themselves first means they don't care about others, but that belief is one of the main reasons people stay stuck, stressed, and unfulfilled. The truth is, when you prioritize yourself, your peace, your health, your goals, your boundaries, you become stronger, wiser, and more effective in everything you do. You show up better for others because you're not running on fumes. You make better decisions because your mind is clear. You grow faster because your energy isn't scattered in 1,000 directions. Life demands a lot from you. Family, work, relationships, responsibilities, unexpected challenges, emotional burdens, and the silent internal battles nobody ever sees. If you don't take care of yourself, all of these demands will eventually break you down. People often ignore their own needs while trying to please others, help everyone, or meet expectations that don't align with their own happiness. But when you constantly put yourself last, you slowly lose your identity. You begin living for approval instead of purpose. You start believing that your worth depends on how much you sacrifice, how much you give, or how much you endure. And little by little, you forget that you deserve peace, rest, and growth just as much as anyone else. Prioritizing yourself means giving yourself permission to listen to your body and your mind. It means understanding when you need rest without guilt. It means recognizing when you need distance from certain people or situations that drain your energy. It means valuing your mental and emotional health enough to say no, even when saying yes feels easier. Many people struggle with boundaries because they fear disappointing others, but every time you protect your time and your peace, you are telling yourself that your life matters. You're building self-respect. You're building confidence. You're building a stronger version of you. Putting yourself first also means investing in your own growth. If you want success, you need time to think, to plan, to learn, to reflect, and to work on your goals. You need the space to become who you were meant to be. When you prioritize yourself, you begin to set standards for the kind of people you allow into your life, the kind of energy you accept, and the kind of behavior you tolerate. You stop entertaining nonsense. You stop settling for less. You stop giving your time to people who don't appreciate it. You begin moving differently because you understand your value. There will always be people who try to make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, especially if they benefited from you putting yourself last. They will call you selfish when you stop letting them take advantage of your kindness. They will say you've changed when you stop accepting disrespect. They will question your choices when you start focusing on your goals instead of their demands. But that discomfort is part of growth. It means you're breaking old patterns, and people who were comfortable with the old version of you will have to adjust or fall away. Prioritizing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you start caring for yourself with the same intensity you give to everyone else. A healthier, happier, more focused version of you can give more, help more, love more, and achieve more. When you take care of yourself, everything in your life improves: your relationships, your decision-making, your productivity, your resilience, your mindset, and your opportunities. You become someone who operates from strength rather than survival, from clarity rather than chaos, and from purpose rather than pressure. Putting yourself first is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of strength. It's the foundation for every dream you want to achieve and every goal you want to reach. When you treat yourself like a priority, the world begins to treat you the same way. Rebuilding yourself means raising your standards and protecting your energy, because nothing in life grows in an environment of compromise, low expectations, or constant drain. Too many people move through life allowing mediocrity to dictate their choices, tolerating disrespect, settling for less than they deserve, and giving their time and energy to things that do not serve their purpose. But if you truly want to rebuild yourself, you must first understand that your standards are a reflection of your self-worth. They are a declaration of what you will accept and, more importantly, what you will no longer accept. Raising your standards is not about arrogance or ego. It is about recognizing your value and refusing to live beneath it. It is about saying to yourself that your time, your dreams, your peace, and your potential are worth protecting and honoring every single day. Protecting your energy is just as critical as raising your standards, because your energy is the fuel for everything you want to accomplish. When you allow toxic people, negative environments, or draining situations into your life, you are depleting the very force that could be used to rebuild your future. Energy is finite. You have a limited amount of mental, emotional, and physical strength each day, and how you spend it determines the quality of your results. If you are constantly giving away to people who don't value it, or to activities that don't matter, you are sabotaging your own growth. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is strategic. It means being intentional about who you allow in your space, what information you consume, and how you respond to challenges. It means creating boundaries that safeguard your peace and preserve your focus on what truly matters. Raising your standards also impacts your relationships, because the people you surround yourself with are a direct reflection of your self-respect. When you set higher standards, You begin to attract people who match your energy, your vision, and your ambition. You begin to let go of those who drain you, doubt you, or hold you back, not out of anger, but out of necessity. The truth is, you cannot rise above the level of people and circumstances you allow into your life. Growth requires discernment. It requires understanding that not everyone who was once close to you deserves a place in the new version of your life. It is not about exclusion for the sake of ego. It is about inclusion of what nurtures, inspires, and elevates you. Protecting your energy also means being selective about how you respond to challenges, conflicts, and setbacks. Not every battle is yours to fight, and not every opinion requires your attention. Many people waste years engaging in things that drain them emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Rebuilding yourself requires learning to disengage from what is not yours to carry. It means refusing to internalize negativity, refusing to be drawn into unnecessary drama, and refusing to give away your power to circumstances or people who thrive on chaos. Every moment you spend protecting your energy is a moment invested in your growth, your peace, and your success. Raising your standards and protecting your energy go hand in hand because one reinforces the other. When you have high standards, you naturally eliminate distractions, low-quality relationships, and habits that do not serve your purpose. When you protect your energy, you create the mental clarity, focus, and resilience needed to uphold those standards consistently. Together, these practices create a foundation for rebuilding yourself that is unshakable. You begin to operate from strength instead of scarcity, from confidence instead of fear, and from purpose instead of survival. Over time, the choices you make to raise your standards and protect your energy compound, transforming not just your life, but the very way you perceive yourself, your potential, and the world around you. This approach teaches you that rebuilding yourself is not a one-time act. It is a continuous commitment to your worth, your peace, and your vision. It is a daily discipline that separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck. And when you embrace it fully, you discover the power, freedom, and clarity that come from living aligned with your highest standards and protected by your strongest boundaries. Oath 6 expanded to around 650 words. Without headings and without a conclusion, your transformation begins the moment you take full responsibility for your future, because nothing changes until you stop blaming the past, the people around you, or the circumstances you were born into. Too many people live their entire lives waiting for someone else to fix their problems, waiting for the perfect opportunity, or waiting for luck to show up. They blame bad relationships, bad bosses, the economy, or their upbringing, and in doing so, they give away the one thing that can actually create change, their own power. Transformation starts with the realization that your life is the result of your decisions, and if you want a different result, you must make different decisions. When you accept that truth, you take the first step toward rebuilding yourself, and that step alone is more powerful than anything else in the world. Taking responsibility for your future means owning your actions, your choices, and your mindset. It means recognizing that every habit you have, every thought you entertain, and every decision you make contributes either to your growth or to your stagnation. No one else can do the hard work for you. No one else can wake up each day, face the challenges, push past the doubts, and commit to the process of building a better life. You are the architect of your destiny, and if you want a strong foundation, you must be the one to lay it. This is not about perfection. It is about consistency, accountability, and the courage to face yourself honestly. Every step forward, no matter how small, compounds over time, creating momentum that propels you toward your vision. Taking responsibility also requires confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself. You have to admit where you've been wrong, where you've made excuses, and where you've allowed fear or laziness to dictate your life. This process is never easy because it challenges your ego and forces you to see parts of yourself you may have avoided. But true transformation cannot happen without self-awareness. When you are willing to look in the mirror and accept both your strengths and weaknesses, you gain clarity. You understand what must change, what must improve, and what must be let go. This honesty becomes the compass that guides your rebuilding process, helping you make decisions that align with your highest potential. Responsibility for your future also means being proactive instead of reactive. Many people wait for life to hand them opportunities, but the reality is that opportunity favors the prepared. When you take control of your life, you start to create opportunities instead of waiting for them. You start setting goals, making plans, and taking deliberate actions that move you closer to your vision. You begin to anticipate challenges and develop the skills, habits, and mindset necessary to overcome them. Transformation requires action, and action requires ownership. Without taking responsibility, action becomes inconsistent, and results become unpredictable. But when you commit to owning your journey, you begin to operate with intention, discipline, and purpose. Taking responsibility also shifts your mindset from victimhood to empowerment. Instead of asking, why me? You start asking, what can I do? You stop giving away your power to circumstances and start reclaiming it for yourself. You stop waiting for someone else to save you and start saving yourself. You realize that setbacks are not punishments but lessons, not failures but opportunities to learn, adjust, and grow stronger. Each challenge you face becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block because you understand that your future is created by your actions today, not by your regrets yesterday. When you embrace full responsibility for your future, transformation becomes inevitable. You stop blaming, stop waiting, and stop excusing. You begin building the habits, mindset, and strategies that create long-term growth. You focus on solutions rather than problems, on progress rather than perfection, and on action rather than fear. And as you consistently take charge of your life, your self-confidence rises, your resilience strengthens, and your purpose becomes clearer. You discover that rebuilding yourself is not about changing overnight. It is about committing every day to the choices, actions, and mindset that will shape the life you desire and deserve. This is the moment where your transformation truly begins. The moment you stop waiting and start owning. The moment you realize that your future belongs to you and you alone. And the moment you decide to build it with intention, courage, and relentless focus. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something I've learned in my journey. Life does not reward people who stay the same. Life rewards those who refuse to settle, those who wake up every day with the mindset that they can do just a little better than they did yesterday. You cannot afford to stop improving yourself. The moment you stop growing is the moment you start dying inside. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be real with you right now. You can dream all you want. You can write down every goal on your vision board. You can talk about what you want out of life until your voice runs dry. But if you don't have discipline, none of that is going to happen. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the difference between wishing and winning. Too many people are talented. Too many people have potential. But potential without discipline is wasted energy. It's like having a car with a full tank of gas, but never turning on the ignition. That car ain't going anywhere until somebody starts it. And discipline is what turns that key. I learned early in my life that talent will only take you so far. You can be gifted. You can be naturally good at something. But if you don't wake up every day and put in the work, somebody with less talent but more discipline is going to pass you up. That's why you see people who might not be the smartest, not the most skilled, not the most connected, but they are the most consistent, and they end up at the top. Discipline is about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's about doing what you said you were going to do long after the feeling you had when you made that decision has left you. Now, let me tell you, discipline is not comfortable. It's not supposed to be. Discipline requires you to say no when everybody else is saying yes. Discipline requires you to go to bed early when others are partying, to wake up before the sun when others are sleeping. Discipline requires sacrifice, and most people don't like that word. But let me tell you, the sacrifice you make today becomes the reward you enjoy tomorrow. You want to live a life most people don't have, then you have to be willing to do things most people won't do. That's what discipline is all about. See, discipline is not just about big goals either. It's in the small daily habits, the way you treat your time, the way you handle your money, the way you care for your health, the way you invest in your relationships. Every one of those things requires discipline. If you can manage the little things, you will never be trusted with the big things. Some people are waiting for a big break, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for life to open the door. But discipline is the key that unlocks that door. You've got to prove to yourself and to God that you can be trusted with responsibility. Let's be honest. There will be days when you don't feel motivated. Motivation comes and goes. Some mornings you'll wake up on fire, ready to conquer the world. Other days, you won't even want to get out of bed. That's where discipline separates you from the crowd. Discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation is a decision. If you rely only on motivation, you'll quit the first time life gets tough. But if you build discipline, you'll keep going no matter how you feel. That's how you reach your dreams. I want you to think about it this way. Discipline is love for yourself. It's saying, I respect my future enough to do what I need to do today. It's saying, I care about my purpose more than I care about my comfort. It's saying, I'm not going to let laziness, fear, or distraction steal the life I know I'm capable of living. When you live with discipline, you walk with power. You walk with authority. You walk with a confidence that can't be shaken because you know you're putting in the work every single day. So remember, talent might get you started, but discipline is what keeps you in the game. It is the secret ingredient behind every success story. If you want to see your life change, if you want to see doors open, if you want to stand in the place you've been dreaming about, then you've got to make discipline your best friend. That's the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful right now. The way you think shapes everything about your life. Your mindset determines your future. If you're walking around with negative thoughts, doubt, fear, and excuses running through your head all the time, then don't be surprised when your life looks the same year after year. But if you train your mind to see possibilities instead of problems, if you learn how to think big instead of settling for small, your whole life can change. It's not your circumstances that hold you back. It's your mindset about your circumstance. I've met people who had everything going against them. No money, no connections, no education, no resources, but they believed they could win. And because of that belief, they made it happen. And I've met people who had every advantage in the world, money, opportunities, a support system, but their mindset was filled with fear, laziness, and excuses, and they ended up going nowhere. That's why I say mindset is more important than anything else, because it decides whether you take the shot or walk away, whether you chase your dream or settle for less. You've got to understand that your mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, negativity, and fear, then weeds will take over your life. But if you plant seeds of faith, courage, and vision, then success will bloom. Every morning when you wake up, you've got to decide what kind of seeds you're going to plant in your head. Are you telling yourself it's too late, you're not good enough? The odds are against you? Or are you telling yourself that you're capable, you're worthy, you're destined for more? Because whichever one you choose to believe, that's exactly the direction your life will go. Mindset isn't about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending your problems don't exist. It's about choosing to see yourself as bigger than those problems. It's about knowing that the same God who brought you through your last storm is strong enough to carry you through this one. It's about refusing to let the weight of the world crush the hope in your heart. The people who succeed are not the ones who never face challenges. They're the ones who face challenges with a winning mindset. I know from my own life that when your mindset changes, everything changes. There was a time when I was broke, sleeping in my car, not sure where my next meal was coming from, but I never let that situation own my mind. I told myself that where I was at that moment was not where I was going to stay. I started to think differently, and when I thought differently, I acted differently. And when I acted differently, my results changed. That's the power of mindset. You've got to see yourself at the finish line, even when you're still at the starting block. And here's the truth. The world will always throw negativity at you. People will doubt you, criticize you, laugh at you, and tell you what you can't do. If you let that negativity get inside your head, it'll poison your dreams. But if your mindset is strong, you won't be moved by outside voices. You'll keep pushing, keep grinding, keep believing, even when nobody else does. That's what separates winners from quitters. So, ladies and gentlemen, protect your mind. Feed it with positivity, faith, and belief. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger, not people who drag you down. Because if you can control your mindset, you can control your destiny. And I promise you this, the moment you shift the way you think, you shift the way you live. That's why I'm telling you, your mindset determines your future. And if you want a better future, you got to start with a better mindset today. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to hear me on this. Failure is not the end of your story. It's just a chapter in your book. Too many people give up when they fall short. Too many people throw in the towel the first time things don't go their way. But what they don't realize is that failure is not a sign that you finished. It's proof that you're in the game. If you're failing, that means you're trying. And every failure is preparing you for the success that's on the other side. The problem is most folks look at failure like it's a permanent mark. They think, I messed up, I must not be good enough. I failed, so maybe I wasn't meant to do this. That's the wrong way to think. Failure is not a verdict. It's feedback. It's teaching you what doesn't work so you can figure out what does. Some of the most successful people in the world failed more times than they succeeded. But the difference is they didn't quit. They learned from every failure, adjusted, and came back stronger. When you fail, you gain wisdom that success alone can't give you. Failure teaches you resilience. It teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It puts you through the fire so that when your breakthrough comes, you're ready to handle it. If you got everything you wanted the first time you tried, you wouldn't be able to appreciate it and you wouldn't be prepared to hold on to it. Sometimes God allows failure not to punish you, but to prepare you. He knows you need that strength, that toughness, that determination that only comes from falling down and getting back up. Let me share something from my own life. Before I ever became who I am today, I failed more times than I can count. I bombed shows. I went broke. I slept in my car. I lost opportunities. There were moments I thought maybe I should give up. But every single failure taught me something. It taught me what I needed to work on. It toughened my skin. It made me hungrier. Looking back now, I realized those failures weren't setbacks. They were positioning me for the doors that eventually opened. If I had quit after my first or second failure, you wouldn't even know my name today. See, the enemy wants you to believe that failure means stop, but really failure means grow. Failure means you are one step closer to figuring it out. Think about a baby learning to walk. That baby's going to fall over and over again before taking their first steps. But do they ever stop trying? No, because Falling is part of the process. And when they finally walk, those falls don't matter anymore. That's how life works. You got to stop being afraid of falling because it's the only way to learn how to walk into your destiny. I want you to change the way you see failure. Don't see it as rejection. See it as direction. Don't see it as defeat. See it as development. Don't see it as the end. See it as the beginning of something greater. Every time you fail, you're gaining strength, you're gaining knowledge, and you're building the character you need to sustain your success when it finally comes. Failure is the training ground for greatness. So ladies and gentlemen, stop running from failure and start learning from it. Embrace it as part of the journey because every failure is moving you closer to the breakthrough you've been praying for. And when you finally win, and you will, you'll look back and realize that failure wasn't your enemy. It was your teacher. It was your coach. It was the very thing that shaped you into the person capable of living your dream. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the truth about success. It's not just about talent, it's about consistency. I've seen people with incredible talent who never went anywhere in life because they didn't show up every day. And I've seen people with average talent rise to the top because they were consistent. Consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. You can be the most gifted person in the room, but if you only give effort once in a while, you'll lose to the one who shows up day after day, even when they don't feel like it. Talent might open a door, but consistency keeps you in the room. Everybody loves the big moments, the spotlight, the victory, the applause. But what really creates those moments are the small, unseen, repetitive actions done over and over again. Success is built in the dark when nobody is watching. It's built in those early mornings when you drag yourself out of bed, in those long nights when you keep grinding while others sleep. That's consistency. And over time, consistency builds momentum. And momentum creates breakthroughs. The problem is most people quit too early. They want results fast. They want success in a week. They want the prize without the process. But life doesn't work that way. Consistency is like planting seeds. You don't drop a seed in the ground today and expect a tree tomorrow. You've got to water it every day, protect it, care for it, and wait. And if you stay consistent, one day that little seed becomes a tree that gives shade, fruit, and blessing. But you'll never see it if you give up before it grows. Talent can make people notice you for a moment, but consistency makes people respect you for a lifetime. People can admire what you're gifted at, but they trust you when they see that you're steady, reliable, dependable. That's how opportunities come. Folks want to work with someone they can count on, not someone who shows up only when it's convenient. If you want to build a business, a career, or even a relationship, consistency is the glue that holds it all together. I can't tell you how many times in my own life I didn't feel like getting up and going to work, but I did it anyway. I didn't always feel motivated, but I stayed consistent. And that's what made the difference. There were plenty of people more talented than me. There were comedians funnier, smoother, sharper. But I outlasted them because I kept showing up. While they were waiting for the perfect moment or only performing when they felt like it, I was on that grind night after night. And eventually, consistency put me in places where talent alone could never take me. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. Every small effort you make adds up. A workout today doesn't change your body, but a workout every day for a year transforms your health. Saving a little money today won't make you rich, but saving consistently will create wealth. Reading one page today won't change your mind, but reading every day will fill you with knowledge. Success is never about what you do once in a while. It's about what you do repeatedly, faithfully, consistently. So stop waiting for motivation to carry you. Motivation is good, but it's temporary. It fades. Consistency is a commitment. It says, I will show up no matter what. I will put in the work whether I feel like it or not. And that's the mindset that turns ordinary people into extraordinary success. So remember this, ladies and gentlemen. Talent can impress people for a moment, but consistency earns results for a lifetime. If you keep showing up, keep grinding, keep doing the work, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when nobody is clapping, your consistency will outshine talent every single time. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you that too many people forget when they're on the journey to success. Gratitude is what keeps you grounded while you're growing. See, growth can be exciting. Growth can bring you new opportunities, more money, more recognition, more responsibility. But without gratitude, growth can also make you arrogant, ungrateful, and blind to the blessings you already have. Gratitude is the anchor that keeps you humble no matter how high you rise. It reminds you of where you came from, and it keeps your spirit connected to the things that truly matter. When you practice gratitude, you stop focusing on what you don't have and start appreciating what you do. And let me tell you something. The more grateful you are, the more blessings you attract. That's not just some nice phrase. That's the truth. When God sees you being thankful for the little things, he knows you can be trusted with bigger things. But when you complain, when you focus only on what's missing, when you act like nothing is ever enough, you block yourself from receiving. Gratitude is the key that opens the door to increase. I know how easy it is to get caught up in the grind, always chasing the next goal, the next level, the next achievement. And there's nothing wrong with ambition. You should want to grow. But if you never pause to say, thank you, Lord, for how far I've come, then you're missing the point. Gratitude keeps your heart in the right place. It reminds you that every step forward wasn't just your doing. It was grace. It was favor. It was blessings placed in your path. And when you understand that, you don't take success for granted. Gratitude also changes how you handle setbacks. Because when life knocks you down, if you can still find something to be thankful for, you won't stay down long. You'll say, I may have lost this opportunity, but thank God I still have my health. I still have my family. I still have another day to fight. That kind of gratitude keeps you resilient. It keeps you from falling into bitterness or despair. Gratitude gives you perspective. It reminds you that even in the storm, there's something worth holding on to. I'll be honest, gratitude has saved me many times in my own life. When I was broke, sleeping in my car, unsure if I was going to make it, gratitude kept me going. I could have sat there complaining about my situation, but instead I thank God for giving me another chance, for giving me breath in my body, for giving me a gift I could use to change my life. That gratitude gave me the strength to keep pushing. And even now, with all the success I've had, gratitude is what keeps me grounded. Because I know it could all be gone tomorrow, and the only reason I have any of it is because I was blessed. The truth is, gratitude is not just words, it's a way of living. It's choosing to appreciate the people in your life, not just use them. It's valuing the opportunities you're given, not acting like you're entitled to them. It's waking up every day and saying, I may not have everything I want, but I'm grateful for everything I've got. And the more you live that way, the more peace, joy, and fulfillment you experience. Because gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already here. So ladies and gentlemen, never forget this. Gratitude is the balance to ambition. Growth will take you higher, but gratitude will keep you steady. You can chase your dreams, you can reach for more, but don't ever stop being thankful for where you are right now. Because gratitude is the foundation that keeps you grounded while you're growing. And without it, success will never feel like enough. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make this clear. Without faith, you won't make it. Faith is the engine that pushes you forward when the road gets tough. Life will hit you harder than you ever expected, and there will be moments when everything in you wants to quit. You'll face obstacles that feel too big, setbacks that feel too painful, and delays that seem too long. In those moments, talent won't be enough, discipline won't be enough, even hard work won't be enough. What will carry you through is faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your purpose, and faith in God. See, faith is not about having everything figured out. Faith is believing even when you don't see the whole picture. It's trusting that if you take one step, the next step will reveal itself. It's knowing deep down that the struggle you're facing today is not the end of your story. Faith whispers to you in the dark, keep going because light is on the way. And without that voice, it's too easy to give up when things don't happen as fast as you want. Faith is what gives you courage when fear tells you to stop. Fear says, what if you fail? Faith answers, but what if you succeed? Fear says you don't have enough. Faith says use what you've got and more will come. Fear says it's impossible. Faith says with God, all things are possible. That's why faith is so powerful. It shifts your focus from what's against you to the power that's within you. I can tell you from my own life, faith has been the fuel that kept me going when nothing else made sense. There were times I was broke, times I was rejected, times I felt completely lost. If I had looked only at my circumstances, I would have given up a long time ago. But faith told me my situation was temporary. Faith told me that the dream God put in my heart was there for a reason. Faith told me that if I kept pushing, kept believing, kept showing up, eventually the breakthrough would come. And it did. Not because I had all the answers, but because I refused to let go of faith. Now understand this. Faith doesn't mean the road will be easy. In fact, sometimes faith will lead you right into challenges that test you. But those challenges are not there to destroy you. They're there to develop you. Faith doesn't eliminate the storms, but it gives you the strength to stand in the middle of them. Faith doesn't always change your situation right away, but it changes you. And when you change, your situation eventually follows. Faith is also about patience. We live in a world that wants everything instantly, but faith says, wait, trust the process. Sometimes God delays your blessing, not to deny you, but to prepare you. And if you have faith, you'll keep walking even when the finish line isn't in sight. You'll keep sowing seeds even when the harvest hasn't come. You'll keep knocking even when the door hasn't opened. That's what separates those who give up from those who receive the reward. And don't think faith is only about the big moments. Faith is in the small, daily decisions too. It's having the courage to apply for that job, even though you've been rejected before. It's starting a business, even though you don't have every detail worked out. It's trusting that your efforts will pay off, even when you can't see the results yet. Faith is not passive. It's active. It's believing and moving forward at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate the power of faith. It is the engine that keeps you moving when the road gets rough, when the nights get long, when the burden feels too heavy. Faith reminds you that what looks impossible today will one day be your testimony tomorrow. And if you hold on to it, if you keep feeding it, if you refuse to let it go, faith will carry you to places you never imagined you could reach. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. This ain't fancy. This ain't complicated, but it will change your life if you do it. I'm talking about waking up early. Now, I already know what some of y'all thinking. Steve, I'm not a morning person. Let me help you with something. Success don't care what kind of person you are. Success responds to habits, not excuses. See, when you wake up early, you get something most people never get: quiet. The world is peaceful. Your phone ain't ringing. Nobody needs nothing from you. And for once, life ain't pulling on you from every direction. That's when you can think. That's when you can pray. That's when you can plan. And let me tell you, if you don't plan your life, somebody else will plan it for you. I learned a long time ago that winners do what losers don't want to do. Waking up early is uncomfortable. It's hard. Your bed feels real good. But while you're laying there comfortable, somebody else is up working on the dream you keep talking about. That's the difference. That's the separator. Discipline. When you wake up early, you start winning the day before the day even starts. You already accomplished something hard. You already told yourself, I said I was going to get up and I did it. That builds confidence. And confidence is dangerous because once you start believing in yourself, ain't nobody can stop you. Let me say this clearly, your life changes when your mornings change. You can read, you can work on your goals, you can work on yourself. Instead of rushing through life stressed out, you start moving with purpose. And purpose gives you power. God talks in quiet moments. He don't shout over noise. If you always surrounded by noise, distractions, and sleep, you're going to miss the instructions. Early mornings give you access to answers you've been praying for. I'm not saying you got to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow and turn into Superman. I'm saying start small. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Then an hour. Build the habit. Because habits create lifestyle, and lifestyle creates destiny. Waking up early gives you a head start on life while others are still sleeping, and this one habit alone can quietly change everything about your future. When you rise before the world does, you are choosing progress over comfort, purpose over laziness, and discipline over excuses. Early mornings are not about punishment or suffering. They are about positioning yourself ahead of the competition. While most people are still wrapped in blankets, lost in dreams, you are awake building the life you keep praying for. That head start may seem small, but over time it creates a massive gap between where you are and where others remain stuck. There is something powerful about owning the first hours of your day. Those hours belong to you. No noise, no distractions, no demands. That quiet time allows you to think clearly, plan intentionally, and focus deeply. Life moves fast, and once the day begins, it starts pulling you in 100 directions. But when you wake up early, you decide the direction first. You are no longer reacting to life. You are leading it. That shift alone changes how you show up in the world. Getting up early trains your mind to do hard things. Your bed will beg you to stay. Your body will argue with you. But every time you choose to get up anyway, you strengthen your self-control. You prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline. And discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Talent without discipline fades. Motivation without discipline disappears. But discipline shows up even when you don't feel like it. That early start also builds confidence in a quiet but powerful way. You begin to trust yourself more because you keep the promises you make to yourself. You said you would wake up early, and you did it. That trust spills into other areas of life. You start believing you can stick to goals, overcome obstacles, and finish what you start. Confidence doesn't come from loud words. It comes from consistent action. Waking up early creates momentum. When you start the day with intention, the rest of the day follows your lead. You are less rushed, less stressed, and more focused. You have time to work on yourself before working for others. You can read, learn, plan, exercise, or pray. Instead of chasing time all day, time begins to work for you. This habit also separates those who talk from those who do. Everybody has dreams. Everybody wants success. But very few are willing to sacrifice comfort for growth. Early mornings demand sacrifice, and sacrifice is the price of greatness. Nothing extraordinary is built from convenience. Every successful life is supported by unseen effort, and most of that effort happens when nobody is watching. When you wake up early, you send a message to life that you are serious. You are no longer waiting for motivation to find you. You are going to meet success halfway. You begin to respect time, and in return, time starts rewarding you. Days become productive. Weeks become focused. Years become meaningful. The truth is simple. Life does not change overnight, but it changes one morning at a time. Each early morning is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Miss one brick and nothing happens. Lay one brick every day, and eventually you build something unbreakable. XPND2K nuance 600 wild asabitoy hem gen koqiom. Waking up early creates discipline, and discipline is the invisible force behind every successful life. Most people think success comes from talent, luck, or connections, but the truth is much simpler and much harder. It comes from doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. Early mornings force you to face discomfort head on. The alarm goes off, your body wants rest, your mind looks for excuses, and in that moment you make a choice. Every time you choose to get up, You strengthen your ability to control yourself instead of letting comfort control you. Discipline built in the morning spreads into every area of your life. When you master the first battle of the day, you walk into the rest of it with authority. You become more focused at work, more consistent with your goals, and more patient with challenges. You stop relying on motivation because motivation is unreliable. Discipline shows up on good days and bad days. It works when you are tired, stressed, or uninspired. And once discipline becomes a habit, your life starts running on purpose instead of emotion. Early mornings teach you respect for time. Time is the one thing everyone gets equally, yet most people waste it without realizing its value. When you wake up early, you stop treating time casually. You begin to see how powerful even 1 extra hour can be. 1 hour a day spent learning, planning, or improving yourself turns into hundreds of hours in a year. That is how average people quietly become extraordinary. They don't do something dramatic, they do something small consistently. Discipline also brings mental strength. When you wake up early, you train your mind to stay steady under pressure. You learn how to push past resistance and keep moving forward. Life will test you in bigger ways than a morning alarm, and if you cannot overcome something small, you will struggle when bigger challenges arrive. Early mornings prepare you for life's storms by teaching you how to stay committed, even when things feel uncomfortable. There is a confidence that comes from discipline that cannot be faked. It is not loud or arrogant, it is calm and grounded. You walk differently when you know you are doing what most people avoid. You stop seeking validation from others because you already know you are putting in the work. That confidence attracts opportunities, respect, and trust. People can feel when someone is disciplined, even if they cannot explain why. Waking up early also brings structure to your life. Without structure, days blend together, goals stay unfinished, and dreams remain ideas. Discipline gives your life a framework. You begin to organize your priorities instead of reacting to chaos. Your mornings become intentional, and intention creates direction. Direction leads to progress. Most people wait until life forces discipline on them through pain, failure, or regret. Waking up early allows you to choose discipline before life chooses it for you. It is a decision to grow voluntarily instead of being shaped by hardship. Over time, that decision compounds into stability, success, and self-respect. The truth is, discipline does not limit your life, it expands it. The more disciplined you become, the more freedom you gain. Freedom from stress, from confusion, from wasted potential. And it all starts with one simple decision made early in the morning, long before the world wakes up. Waking up early gives you quiet, and quiet is where clarity is born. In a world that never stops talking, never stops demanding, and never stops distracting, silence has become rare and valuable. Early mornings offer a kind of peace that cannot be found later in the day. No phone buzzing, no opinions flying at you, no emergencies pulling you in every direction. Just you, your thoughts, and the space to finally hear yourself think. That stillness allows your mind to slow down and your vision to sharpen. In quiet moments, you begin to understand what you actually want, not what the world tells you to want. Throughout the day, noise drowns out your inner voice. Social media, work pressure, family expectations, and constant comparison confuse your sense of direction. But when you wake up early, before the world wakes up, you reconnect with your purpose. You can reflect on your goals, examine your decisions, and realign your actions with what truly matters to you. Quiet mornings also strengthen your spiritual connection. Many people say they are waiting on guidance, waiting on answers, waiting for signs, but they never slow down enough to receive them. Guidance often comes in calm moments, not chaos. When you wake up early, you create room for prayer, meditation, or simple reflection. That space allows wisdom to surface and direction to become clear. Instead of asking for clarity all day, you give clarity a place to find you. The silence of early mornings also fuels creativity. Ideas are fragile, they need calm to grow. During the day, your mind is busy reacting, solving problems, and responding to demands. Creativity rarely survives that environment. But in the early hours, your mind is open and fresh, thoughts flow freely, solutions appear, plans take shape. Many breakthroughs happen not because people are smarter, but because they give their minds the quiet space needed to connect ideas. Waking up early helps you reset emotionally. Stress builds when you are constantly rushing and reacting. Quiet time allows you to process emotions instead of suppressing them. You can acknowledge frustration, fear, or doubt without judgment, and then let it go. That emotional clarity helps you show up calmer and stronger throughout the day. You are less reactive because you have already centered yourself before the chaos begins. There is also a sense of control that comes from quiet mornings. When you start your day peacefully, you don't feel behind. You don't feel rushed. You feel grounded. That feeling changes how you handle challenges. Problems seem more manageable. Decisions feel less overwhelming. You respond instead of panicking. Control over your mornings becomes control over your mindset. Quiet early hours also strengthen self-awareness. You begin to notice patterns in your thinking, habits in your behavior, and areas that need growth. Awareness is the first step to change. Without quiet reflection, people repeat the same mistakes because they never pause to understand them. Early mornings give you that pause. They give you the chance to course correct before the day pulls you off track. Most people underestimate the power of silence because it doesn't look productive. But clarity, creativity, and purpose are born there. When you wake up early, you are not just gaining time, you are gaining access to your true self. And that access changes how you move through the world for the rest of the day. Success leaves clues, and one of the clearest clues is how successful people protect their mornings. Across industries, cultures, and backgrounds, there is a common pattern. People who achieve great things take control of the early hours of the day. This is not coincidence. It is strategy. Mornings are when the mind is fresh, energy is higher, and distractions are minimal. Those who understand this use that time intentionally, while others sleep through the opportunity. Waking up early gives you access to your highest quality thinking. Later in the day, your mind becomes cluttered with decisions, conversations, and stress. Fatigue slowly chips away at focus and creativity. Early mornings offer mental sharpness that cannot be recreated later, no matter how much coffee you drink. Successful people know this, which is why they schedule their most important work before the rest of the world demands their attention. Protecting the morning also sends a powerful message about priorities. It says that growth comes before comfort and purpose comes before convenience. Successful people don't wait until they have time to work on their goals because time never magically appears. They create time. By waking up early, they make themselves the first priority of the day instead of the last. This habit builds momentum that carries into everything else they do. Another reason successful people value mornings is consistency. Even when days are unpredictable, mornings are reliable. Meetings change, problems arise, and plans fall apart, but the morning always arrives. By anchoring their routines to the early hours, successful individuals ensure steady progress regardless of what the day brings. That consistency compounds over time, turning small daily efforts into remarkable results. Early mornings also allow for uninterrupted focus. Deep work requires long stretches of concentration, something nearly impossible once the day is in full motion. Notifications, messages, and responsibilities constantly break attention. By waking up early, successful people enter a protected space where they can work deeply and efficiently. This is where strategies are built, skills are sharpened, and visions are refined. Observing successful lives reveals another truth: they do not rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but routines remain. Morning routines remove decision-making from the equation. When you wake up at the same time every day and follow a set pattern, you eliminate excuses. You no longer debate whether to work on your goals, you simply do it. That discipline frees mental energy and increases productivity. Early mornings also reflect long-term thinking. Sleeping in feels good in the moment, but successful people prioritize future rewards over immediate comfort. They understand that progress requires sacrifice, and mornings are where that sacrifice is often made. This mindset shift separates those who dream from those who achieve. Perhaps most importantly, protecting the morning builds self-trust. When you consistently honor your commitments to yourself, your confidence grows. You begin to believe in your ability to follow through, to persist, and to succeed. That belief becomes the foundation of resilience and ambition. Success does not announce itself loudly. It is built quietly, early in the morning, by those who understand the value of time and choose to invest it wisely. EXPN 5K on 600 Wardis buys Amazio Shedi and Kokyo. Waking up early builds confidence because it teaches you how to keep promises to yourself, and there is no stronger form of confidence than self-trust. Every time you set an alarm and actually get up when it rings, you are telling yourself, I can rely on me. Most people struggle not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because deep down they don't trust themselves anymore. They've broken too many small promises to themselves, and over time that damage adds up. Early mornings begin repairing that damage one decision at a time. Confidence is not something you wake up with one day. It is something you earn through consistent action. When you wake up early, you start your day with a win. It may not seem like a big victory, but it is powerful because it happens before excuses have time to form. You said you would wake up early, and you did it. That simple act strengthens your belief in your own word. And when you trust your word, you start moving differently in life. Many people look confident on the outside, but feel uncertain on the inside. That inner doubt comes from inconsistency. Saying you'll do something and not following through slowly erodes self-respect. Early mornings reverse that process. They force you to choose discipline over comfort. Each time you make that choice, you build inner strength. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who does what they say, someone who can be counted on. That confidence spills into every area of life. You start setting bigger goals because you trust yourself to work toward them. You stop quitting when things get hard because you've proven to yourself that you can push through discomfort. You stop seeking approval from others because you already respect yourself. This kind of confidence is quiet but powerful. It doesn't need validation. It stands on consistency. Waking up early also changes how you handle challenges. When life throws obstacles your way, you don't panic as easily because you've trained yourself to face resistance daily. That alarm clock is resistance. Getting out of bed is resistance. And every morning you overcome it, you practice resilience. Over time, your mind learns that discomfort is temporary and manageable. That lesson becomes priceless when facing bigger life challenges. Confidence grows when you realize you are in control of your actions. Early mornings reinforce that control. Instead of letting your mood decide your behavior, you decide. That sense of control creates stability. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are directing it. That shift alone can change how you approach work, relationships, and personal growth. Keeping promises to yourself also builds integrity. Integrity isn't just about honesty with others, it's about honesty with yourself. When you wake up early consistently, you align your actions with your intentions. That alignment creates inner peace. You no longer carry the guilt of procrastination or broken promises. You feel lighter, more focused, and more capable. Over time, early mornings create a positive feedback loop. The more you keep your promises, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more willing you are to challenge yourself. The more you challenge yourself, the more you grow. Growth fuels confidence, and confidence fuels growth. It all starts with one small decision made repeatedly. Waking up early doesn't just change your schedule, it changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who trees and start identifying as someone who does. And once that identity shifts, everything else in your life begins to rise to match it. Small daily sacrifices made in the morning have the power to create massive life transformation over time. Waking up early is one of those sacrifices that feels difficult in the moment, but pays rewards far beyond what most people can imagine. It asks you to give up comfort now so you can gain freedom later. Most people avoid this trade because the reward isn't immediate, but real change has never been about instant gratification. It has always been about patience, consistency, and faith in the process. When you wake up early, you are choosing growth over ease. That choice may cost you a few minutes of sleep, but it gives you hours of opportunity. Opportunity to work on your dreams, to improve your skills, to invest in yourself before the world demands your energy. Those extra morning hours quietly stack up. One day doesn't change much, but weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. Before you realize it, the life you once dreamed about starts becoming familiar. Morning sacrifices also teach you the value of delayed reward. Instead of chasing quick pleasure, you learn to work for long-term results. That mindset is rare, and that rarity is exactly why it leads to success. People who master delayed gratification develop patience, focus, and emotional control. They don't quit easily because they understand that meaningful progress takes time. Early mornings reinforce that lesson daily. There is also a humility in waking up early and doing the work when nobody is watching. No applause, no recognition, just effort. That humility strengthens character. It builds discipline without ego and progress without noise. Many people want visible success, but few are willing to commit to invisible effort. Early mornings are where that invisible effort lives, shaping your future quietly and steadily. Sacrifice in the morning also creates momentum. When you begin the day by giving something up for your goals, you become more intentional with the rest of your choices. You are less likely to waste time and more likely to stay focused and more committed to finishing what you start. One good decision leads to another, and soon your entire day aligns with your purpose. Over time, these sacrifices change how you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone waiting for a break and start seeing yourself as someone building something. That shift in identity is powerful. Identity drives behavior. When you believe you are disciplined, focused, and committed, your actions naturally reflect that belief. Early mornings help shape that identity through consistent action. Many people fear sacrifice because they think it means losing something important. In reality, sacrifice simply means exchanging something good for something better, trading extra sleep for clarity, trading comfort for progress, trading short-term ease for long-term fulfillment. These exchanges may feel small, but their impact is massive. Morning sacrifices also build resilience. Life will test you in ways far more demanding than waking up early. By choosing discomfort voluntarily, you train yourself to endure challenges without giving up. You become stronger mentally and emotionally. You learn that you can handle more than you thought, that strength becomes invaluable when facing setbacks, failures, or uncertainty. Transformation rarely happens through one big decision. It happens through small choices repeated consistently. Waking up early is one of those choices. It doesn't look dramatic, but it is powerful. Each morning you sacrifice comfort. You invest in a future version of yourself that is more confident, more capable, and more fulfilled. The truth is, the life you want is built in moments you don't feel like showing up. Early mornings are full of those moments. And every time you show up anyway, you move one step closer to the person you are meant to become.